Hi there, friends. Rebecca here, your Vibe Mentor, here to bring you another video on how to raise your vibration so you can live your best life. We have a fun topic today about attention and focus. So I wanted to remind you that your focus and your attention is your superpower. That focus and attention literally creates worlds. And of course, with the law of attraction, they always talk about have good thoughts and you'll create good things. But the truth be told, having good thoughts is not enough. That we have to actually believe them. We have to ingrain it in our subconscious so that when we revert to our subconscious programming, that we are reverting to something that is serving us instead of the programs that our parents gave us or the world gave us. And so when we challenge our focus and attention, when we direct it, when we are vigilant about where our energy goes, where our attention and focus goes, we are telling the brain what is most important. What do we want to put into the subconscious? So I want you to understand, I want to share some information that can really help you understand the value of your intention and focus. So if you use social media, you are aware of something called the attention economy. Now, you may have not heard that term before, you may have, but do you really fully understand the massive value that the attention economy is and has? So Facebook alone, just one social platform, hires hundreds of engineers called attention engineers, that they spend hundreds of thousands of hours just programming these systems, the social media platforms, to operate in a way that's going to capture your attention, and not just capture your attention, but keep your focus, right? So the goal is to call you in and to create a habit, right? That's the reason they have the endless scroll, because it will never end. They don't ever want you to feel like you've come to the end of something, right? That the goal is to get a person to allocate as much time and attention to their product. And so now we have not only Facebook, but we have a whole entire iPhone or Android or cell phone full of these different apps that are vying for your focus and attention. Let me turn that off so it doesn't keep bothering us. So the key is to understand how valuable your attention and focus is, right? It's this look at me energy. You can constantly feel like it's coming from every angle. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Facebook is a prime example again of how it's constantly, even YouTube, watch me, watch me. Why do you think the videos automatically play? It's just another way to capture your attention and focus and to draw you in, right? Look at it differently. The look at me energy is feeding the ego. This is all egoic energy. Constant need for validation, constant need for stimulation. It's all egoic. Social media is psychologically engineered to trap you. Try to take a more detached look at the next time you observe social media. How the content is always sensationalized, right? These catchy titles or clickbait or something depressing and sad or something very, very fearful or something inspiring and exciting and something really funny, right? It's all sensationalized. And again, that comes from the human nature to glom onto something that is highly engaging. We call it entertaining, but there is psychological strategies here, right? So they are essentially fighting against our brain's natural tendency to say, I've had enough, I need to move on to what my priorities are. They are fighting the brain from saying, close this app or close this tab, right? Have you ever been reading a book and then turn to check a text message, or you go to text message somebody and somehow you end up on Facebook for 20 minutes? I hate that feeling. I literally, this is fun. I will share this. My screensaver says, put the phone down. I don't know if you can see that. Put the phone down, right? So that I am checking before I engage with the phone. Do I really need to do this? This is the craziest thing. We check our phones an average of 221 times a day, or an average of 4.3 every 4.3 minutes. That is absolutely insane, right? So in their fight against our brain's natural tendency to say, no, I don't need this anymore, they have used linguistics, they're using sound design, they're using social behavior, they're using psychological strategies, like I said. Notice the perfect ding, it has that chime of like, ooh, I want to hear more of that, right? The red notification, red says, pay attention to me, the red stop sign. These are all very, very intentional, that this speaks the language of the brain to say, hey, stop, pay attention. The like, the love, the thumbs up, the endless flow of content. It's stimulating the brain. It's stimulating the brain's reward center. It's stimulating the brain's reward molecule, also known as dopamine. We have created, whoever you want to point the finger at, which I'm not a fan of pointing the finger at, we all have control over this, but they understand that they have triggered a release of dopamine in the brain, and your brain is addicted to that. It will keep saying more. Oh, that was really easy. Let's do that. More, more, more. That was fun. More, more, more. Well, we'll get to that in a second, why that's a problem. But did you know that it takes on average 23 minutes for you to resume focus on the task that you were originally on before being distracted? And oftentimes within that following hour, if you've been able to get through the 23 minutes of refocusing, within that following hour, you will interrupt yourself again without any notifications or stimuli. So it is imperative. Multitasking does not work. It's complete waste of time and energy. It is so imperative that we maintain control over our focus and attention. This literally is our superpower, and we need to understand the value of it and stop giving it away. It literally is like giving away your money, right? That our focus and attention is one of the most valuable assets that we have, and I'll get to why in a minute here, right? So we have to take back control. They're essentially controlling our lives. Inadvertently, we've given them the authority to do so when we have our notifications turned on, when we have our volume turned on. I turn off all notifications on my app. My phone is almost always on vibrate or silent, because I want to determine when I go to the phone or when I check that app. And I am very careful about the amount of time that, if I'm going to consciously do some work on Facebook, Instagram, whatever apps I'm posting on for business, that I set amount of time to spend there. And oftentimes I will go to text somebody and end up on an app, and I really notice the amount of energy that has to be put into staying on task and saying, no, I will not do that. And it's a muscle. It's a muscle that we can exercise. It can become a habit. It will get easier over time. So don't be intimidated by the amount of energy it takes up front. It does get easier. So again, they are controlling your focus. They are controlling your life. They are controlling the way you engage with people, the way you go about your life. That's a lot of power to be given away to someone who really doesn't have your best interest in mind. That they care about the money that they're going to generate for your focus and attention. And you really need to invest wisely and know who you are giving your power and authority to. So remember that excessive dopamine is addictive. Excessive dopamine desensitizes you to the ability to feel the rewards of the dopamine itself. Dopamine is known as the reward molecule. It can also be known as the anticipation molecule. They kind of go hand in hand. It is the anticipation and then the reward and then the cycle of it that keeps the dopamine being created. But just remember that if you've had too much, if you are on your screen for hours and hours and hours a day, and you're constantly getting that reward anticipation cycle going, that you will feel desensitized. You will never quite feel really happy. You will never quite feel really sad. You will never feel really excited about a game, but you'll never really feel like it's quite enough to leave alone. It keeps you in this just mediocre bleh, that we lose motivation. We lose the excitement of life. We lose the ability to feel the true value of an honest, genuine, authentic, organic rush of dopamine. And so dopamine detoxes, I'm not going to go into that today, but highly, highly recommend. Obviously being connected with friends is important, but we can set certain amounts of time to connect with friends, maybe a half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening. isolate all of those apps, put them in a folder that's on the third screen over so you don't see them when you pick up your phone, and really stick to it diligently. I said I wasn't going to go into it, but I just did. Really stick to diligently only allowing a small amount of time for communication only for 3 days minimum. If you could go 7 days, you will feel amazing on the other side of that. Okay, so it has been said, there's a very well-known man by the name of Huxley who said that man has infinite appetite for distraction. And I believe this to be true to some extent, that when we are living a mediocre life, or living the life that they say we should, we haven't tapped into our life purpose, we're not using our gifts, and we're not being of service, then yes, distraction seems enticing, exciting, intimidating, not intimidating, but engaging, right? That it is a welcome reprieve from the life that we really aren't enjoying living. And yes, man does have an infinite appetite for distraction right now, because the world is messy and very few people are stepping into their purpose, and there's a lot of unhappy people and hurt people, and who wouldn't want to escape all of that, right? So keep that in mind. If you're looking for the distraction, if you find that you need the distraction, you're missing a key component of what life is supposed to be like. The joy and the bliss that comes from living out your life purpose, following your intuition, being of service, and seeing the value of what you have to offer light up and help someone else makes everything worthwhile. And it is so much greater of a reward than your little one icon will ever be on your text messages. Okay, people who spend time on Facebook are more likely to be depressed, and that's just a Facebook statistic. That's not incorporating all of the other apps. So keep that in mind. Again, happiness should be derived outside in the world, not from your phone or from your screen. Yes. So also remember, as far as the power and control that you are giving away to people, remember that they can determine what they want to put in front of you, that they will segregate and they will aggregate types of people by your activities, by your shopping behaviors, by your searches, by your friends, by your connections, by your likes. And they will determine that you are this certain type of person. And if you are this certain type of person, we want you to buy this certain type of product. And so we're going to push certain pieces of information to convince you. And it's very, very important to remember the mind is designed to be programmed. It's a question of what program do you want to give it? Are you going to choose the program, or are you going to let them choose it for you? That they can shift your perspective on a topic purely by constant exposure to the agenda or the information they want you to see. And yes, a lot of times that can make shopping easier, but to be honest, I would rather be in control of my subconscious programming than to trust someone blindly who really only has the return on investment in mind, and they don't care about me as a person. Right? This dynamic, it changes the way we have conversations. It changes our beliefs. It changes our opinions. It changes our relationships, and we have to be really, really careful. This type of thing can destroy society. Literally, it is programming, and it is not in humanity's best interest. And so we have to be cognizant and aware of our attention and focus as the most valuable asset, and we have to hold it close to our vest. We have to use it wisely. There was a man who was a former executive of Facebook. He was part of the original algorithms and programming that came up with this attention design, and decided that attention engineers needed to constantly manage where your attention and focus is going. I would attempt to say his name, but I guarantee you I will say it wrong because I'm bad at pronunciation as it is. So I will link it below. In all fairness, I want to give him credit, but this man, I really, 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 I'm going to say his first name is Chameth. If ever by chance he happened to see this, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for admitting a wrong. And I understand we can't take it back now, but he said that we literally, and this is a direct quote, that we are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works with social media. And he's the man that developed it, that he regrets giving this power and control to the companies who genuinely don't care about you as a person. And of course, many of the social platforms do good things out in the world, and they claim to have concerns around social interests. But at the end of the day, profit always wins. And coming from the corporate world, I can tell you, if it's between you and the dollar, they will choose the dollar. And that is the sad truth of the world that we live in today. And so when a man who developed the algorithm expresses extreme regret and an acknowledgement of the damage that it is doing to our social structure, we really have to pay attention. And I share all of this because, again, I started with the point is you need to understand the value of attention and focus. We collectively, I too, I don't think that I've ever mastered it, and I don't know of anyone on earth who has yet. But in our growth, in our expansion, the more we gain control over our attention and focus, the more we gain control over our creative abilities. And this is part of the path. This is what we're here to do. And this may be one of the most important lessons. That in combination with loving everyone as your brother, I think they would be the two most important. And that essentially is controlling your mind, right? So mindset we talk quite a bit about on this channel. But just remember that the... I have a quote here. He said, don't feed the beast or it will destroy you, which is so scary. Even he said that there's misinformation just by sheer volume of people who can state whatever they want. You're going to have misinformation and mistruth, which is what he said. So I don't want to focus too much on that, but just remember that we're feeding the ego when we're feeding the beast, as he said, right? And then we're always left with a feeling of needing more, which is a hallmark of the ego. So just really remember, we've got to break away from that. So let's shift into the why, right? The more fun part of this. Attention and focus is awesome and amazing. It is our superpower. It creates universes. That literally the universe speaks the language of energy, and our attention and focus is energy. And so we are speaking to the universe through our attention and focus, right? That focus is directed energy, and what we focus on, the brain will create. So we need to value our attention and focus because it truly is the most valuable currency on the planet. That literally without attention and focus, nothing exists. And I like to point to quantum physics, that when there is no observer and you're looking at a collection of energy, if you will, there is no singular object. It is just a field of potential. Until you have an observer, someone who is focused and giving attention to this field, then do you have an object come together into focus. And so we have to remember that our attention and focus literally breathes life into things that we are creating, and we're creating all the time. And so we need to really be aware of what we're creating and create with intention so we can stop misfiring and recreating more of what we fear or more of the past, right? So some tips and tricks. How do we master our focus? So have a list of priorities. Understand what are your goals, what are your top 3 priorities, either for that day or for that hour, for that session of work, for those months, for those years, for your life. Really understanding your priorities is very, very critical in choosing and sort of sifting through all of the possible places that you could put your attention and focus, and you say, that is not a priority. That is not something I want to grow. Top 3 priorities, top 3 things under each of those priorities to say these are the next 3 steps. And of course, with a healthy balance of intuitive guidance, we check in and say, is this right for the goal that is, to be achieved? And I would even say check in on the priorities. Make sure that those priorities are soul-led and not ego-led. Next would be create scripts of the things that you want to say when a situation comes up. So if you're going to get, an unexpected visitor, you're going to get an unexpected car repair, you're going to get an unexpected bill, be prepared for those situations that might trigger a fear, might trigger a trauma, might trigger a negative thought pattern, and have a go-to script in your head. And I smile because lately my kids, they're still young yet, so of course there's no way I could reasonably expect them to understand all of the things that could potentially happen from their actions. And so frustrating things happen, right? I'm on a conference call and my daughter decides to paint in the living room on the carpet, like, right? I could get upset. I could let that spiral and say things that might hurt my daughter. But instead, I've got the little go-to that I've started enacting. I don't know if you've seen the Lego movie, but the song "Everything is Awesome." So whenever something goes wrong, I just start singing this song in my head. Totally silly, but you know what? It shifts my energy and it keeps me positive and it keeps me focused. It keeps my vibration high. And then we clean. It was water-based paint anyways. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. I'm probably going to have to get a carpet cleaner, but it's so much more important to not hurt my daughter, so much more important to stay high vibrational. And all of that was facilitated by having a go-to, right? Something that I know I'm going to say when I feel like this is going to go the wrong way. Okay. Limit distractions, put the phone away, close the doors and windows, turn on music. I really feel like music helps me keep focused. So know what your thing is and limit all of the other distractions. Headphones are amazing if you need to get something done with limited distractions. Declutter, right? So a disorganized environment creates a disorganized mind. Organize your environment. Keep only the things that are supporting the high priorities on your desk or within your sight or reach, and that will help your mind sort of prioritize and declutter all of the possible things that could come up. Schedule breaks. Breaks are crucial. You have to have the downtime, just like we dopamine detox. We have to be willing to put the distractions down. Schedule breaks. Be vigilant about your energy. Ignore what you do not want. Create routines. Have the go-to routine so that there's not even a question of what are we going to do right now. I know exactly what we're going to do. And then just reevaluate. When you look back at how productive was I? Did I do the things I wanted to do? And if I didn't, what came up? What caused the distraction? And so we are reprogramming our mind. We are telling our mind what is most important. We are putting into the subconscious habits. We're creating neural pathways that are going to support this habitually so that it doesn't require a lot of effort. So just know that the effort is going to be very, very worth it up front. And then as this becomes a habit, you will be able to do that without even thinking about it in the future. So yeah, just remember repeated exposure. How does society program our subconscious today? Music, TVs, flashing lights, right? So we can do this in reverse for ourselves. We can enact the programs we want to put into our own mind. So, and also remember to use the reticular activating system. As we're telling the brain what is most important, our brain will then go out and find more of it. So we need to just learn how to work our system, work our fancy sports car and drive it properly and stop driving it like a Ford. So I hope you found this video helpful. I have lots of free resources for you below. I love to connect with you. So please do like, subscribe, and share if you find someone could possibly benefit from this video. Sharing is caring. So be sure to give me a little love as well. And I will see you on the next video. Namaste, my friends. Take care.